I will say I just realized am I supposed to bring two bad poems?
Yes.
Okay, let me throw another one in there.
Okay. Rhyme or free, it doesn't matter to me. It's my bad poetry. Good day, and welcome to My Bad Poetry, a podcast where we take a deep dive into our poems from youth, yesteryear, or even yesterday, always asking the question, why in the world did I write this? I'm Aaron.
And I'm Dave.
And today we have with us a Lambda Literary Emerging LGBTQ Voice Fellow, the author of their debut full-length poetry collection, Year of the Unicorn Kids, and rightful critic of twerking in white spaces. Jason B. Crawford, welcome to My Bad Poetry.
Thank you for having me. I love that. I am a rightful twerker.
Yeah, well, I found that reading on YouTube from your page. It's such a good poem. It's just like...
I have fun with that one. I have a lot.
Very cool.
Is there anything from the intro that we might have missed or that you want our dear listeners to know?
I mean, I not to flex, just I stay humble in these streets.
Okay.
But I did win the Omnidon first or second book prize. So my second book is coming out from Omnidon in next fall.
Wow.
It's called
Nice.
Yeet?
Yeet.
Like
yes,
the throw?
like the action.
Okay, got it.
The ancient proverb.
No.
And I'm really excited about it. It feels like a return to, in some ways, to my first chapbook and my second chapbook, which were Summertime Fine and Twerkable Moments. And it feels like a departure from that in some ways, too. So I feel like I grew a lot from them. So I'm excited.
Well, congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Also, so that you don't have to toot your own horn, but you have had poetry featured in Poetry Magazine from Poetry Foundation. I mean, I read that. Never would I thought we'd have a poet from those hollowed pages on our show.
Yes, that was very shocking and surprising to me that they wanted the poem.
Yeah,
I was very excited that those three poems got picked up from my newest new collection. It's something I've started working on to not work on my thesis because I kept editing my thesis.
Sure.
No.
So that's in the July, August of 2023, if people have that on their shelves. Well, Dave, we've just spoken the praise of Jason here. Do you want to bring us into the realm of bad poetry?
Oh, I will gladly bring us into the realm of bad poetry. I will say this is a poem that it speaks to how pedantic and annoying and stupid I can be. Mm-hmm. It's called doublespeak tautology. Personally, I know for myself, overall it makes sense totally. Descriptively, it's annoying when told. In conclusion, it's unnecessary after all. Just stop, please. End.
Okay.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with someone who every single one of their statements was, to me, I think this is interesting to me. Buddy. Buddy.
I mean, isn't it important to speak from your own perspective?
It's important to speak from your own perspective, but only once from your own perspective.
And then shut up and listen.
Yeah,
that's fair. Jason, do you have any thoughts on Dave's hastily written poem for the week?
I enjoy ending a poem on end.
Right?
It was very thin. Like, that realm. It's good. I got you.
Yeah.
Would I teach it? Probably not. But
No. It's the perfect way for to know that someone is trying to be smart, but not actually doing anything with it. Where it's just think. Yes, this was my YouTube video about a fart, and so it ends with thin. In what universe does that make sense to you?
Not many.
No, absolutely not.
Many. But I think like there's this other realm in which it feels like the speaker is trying to use a lot of larger words,
Mm-hmm.
but it also feels like they're used incorrectly.
Yes.
So I've known that person that has sat in my workshop and has said every large word possible to
Mhm.
say that they really like the line break. And it's like, or you could have just said you really like the line break.
No. Someone bought you a thesaurus, and you are using that thesaurus to its maximum.
Well, let's see. Thank you, Dave, for that.
I know, I'm a genius. I get it.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant.
You can say trash. That's good. That works.
Well, Jason, you have brought with some of your own bad poetry for the show. Playground, is that the first? Okay, your first offering. Playground, and then we'll dive into context and everything from there. So,
No.
Perfect. Love. No context. Ooh. I understand. I get it. Okay. Playground. I promise you by now I've seen it all. I have an army that runs deep inside me. I've seen blood spill out of mouths the color of Robitussin, and the smell is the same sticky sweet. To think this is just my playground, to think these teeth are just my barbed wire fences. It's hard to compare a thug from schoolyard child nowadays, when the blackest night won't even touch my skin. And I'm not even kin to darkness anymore. So let this playground be my safe haven, the jungle gym be my Capitol Hill, the slide be the Congress, and the tetherball court be my Statue of Liberty. Let this be my freedom, sticky sweet.
As someone currently dealing with a cold, I really enjoy the Robitussin references. Yeah.
I ironically took Robitussin today.
wow.
There you go.
Stays in the closet.
a bold choice comparing blood to Robitussin. Okay.
Yeah, I was young.
Well, but you could have gone the other way, doing like the whole the sanguine red of like really overemphasizing and again reusing the thesaurus.
Yeah.
But you know, you spoke your own truth there with the Robitussin.
Truly, Robitussin has legitimately been in my bloodstream since I was like 4. Specifically, not Robitussin, but Tussin. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that tastes real bad.
Oh.
Real bad. I do know that this was probably 2016. This is the first poem I ever submitted to a magazine.
Ooh.
Okay.
And was rejected. The first magazine I submitted to was Poetry Magazine.
Wow. Bold. Wow.
Wow.
And I only submitted one poem, and it was this. All the eggs, one basket. And I remember that rejection real well. But I mean, I was fresh out of my undergrad, which was creative writing, and I had switched from fiction to poetry because shorter lines. And honestly, like what they taught me at Eastern Michigan was that, to think of the unexpected and like try to like change words to like something that like no one else would have thought of in that moment. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Robitussin's like a purplish red. That makes sense. Makes sense to me. But I had to make sure, like, I let you know that it's also like sweet for some reason.
Sticky sweet.
Right.
And you come back to that at the end. Like that's
I love the reprieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved the reprieve when I was younger.
That unexpected turn I see here in the tetherball court being your Statue of Liberty. Wow. It's inspired.
I can't say I was pro-America, but
Were you good at tetherball?
Never played in my life.
Oh my God.
I was a
That's even
basketball
better.
player. I have never touched a tetherball. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe I watched an episode of Recess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's a high chance I watched the episode of Recess
Mhm.
because I still watch cartoons to this day.
Yeah.
So I probably was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We didn't have tetherball in my schools.
No.
You just saw Mikey and the Ashleys playing tetherball. I gotcha.
Exactly. You understand me.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting that it was, Safe Haven, Capitol Hill, Congress, Statue of Liberty. Like I was expecting White House or like seat of power rather than a statue.
Or jumping cities, even.
That's true.
Yeah, true. So I was born in DC.
Okay.
Raised in Michigan, but I was born in DC. So like a lot of time up until I would say I was 30, which was some years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I would only claim DC as my hometown, even though it didn't make sense. I stayed until I was like 1 1/4. I came from a place that I've only lived for a year and a half, right? But that's fair. And I think in my head, I was doing this idea of like remaking or renaming government to a space that felt safe for Black people, which is a lot of the work that I'm doing like in this new collection. So like I'm still doing that work, but I feel like I'm doing it in a way that is governmentless instead of trying to do it in tune with rebuilding new government. I've understood now that government at its core is a capitalistic supremacy of whiteness that destroys everything around it. And in order to be truly free, we have to step away from that. And in 2017, I think I was still teetering this idea of like, how can I still be the quote unquote good Black kid?
Sure.
And so it's like, I want to be free, but I also don't want to upset the police or the government. How can I do both? So I think it's very apparent in a lot of the work I was doing. It was like, oh, I'm really mad about this thing, and I can't describe why I'm mad about it because the government is here to protect me, and it's not.
Right.
Sure.
Well, and I like that because then it puts it as like even there, it's Congress. It's a more collective, even though that is still highly dominated by white cis men. But then like pushing it towards Statue of Liberty with the promises of tired, poor, huddled masses, everyone joining together, more the collectivist.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's an inkling there. You're still working within the realms of government, but you could see where that's gonna maybe blossom.
Yes, I just didn't have the language or skill level to do that. I wasn't read enough. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, sure. Oh.
Wait, now I have to ask, read enough as in READ or read as in communist? Because then we got interesting things to go on.
I was saying READ.
Oh, come on.
I do have a random question, and this might not be at all the image you're going for, but to think these teeth are just my barbed wire fences. Did you have braces growing up?
I didn't.
Okay.
I just naturally have perfect teeth. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, they look great.
No, I didn't. I was very lucky that my wisdom teeth grew in straight before they pulled them out, and they pushed my teeth together in a way that was like closing gaps versus like making. I don't know. I was a very lucky child. I don't understand this poem. It really doesn't make sense to me. Like I was like very privileged in the fact that like I went to a pretty good school, my parents had money, I was able to go travel, and I'm still like, I'm oppressed. And like capital like OP, like oppressed, yes, I am.
Yeah.
But like growing up, I was like, none of the kids even fought against me because they knew they would lose. So like, I don't know. I think this was also a lot of me trying to put myself in an oppression state to write about oppression. For a long time, I felt like I had to only write about being oppressed or like being Black, being queer. This was before I understood gender at all. But like being Black and being queer, was like, oh, I have to like talk about all the pain of everyone else's pain, and I have to make sure like everyone understands that Black people are oppressed, which is super important to write about, but like it is devoid of joy. And I think, yeah, this poem for sure was like me trying to be like My Chemical Romance of Black people, and it just wasn't.
This playground is your Black parade here.
Yes, it is.
Oh, there you go.
We got it. We got there.
Join the Black playground. Just
I just choked on tea.
sorry.
Aaron, this is why we can't have nice things.
I know. Oh, that's amazing. Okay. Yeah, I'm just floored that this was your submission piece, like to Poetry Foundation, like right out of, you said right out of undergrad. So did Lanny read this one?
I am sure she has read this one.
Okay.
And probably had many edits for me. If you ask Lanny about our relationship prior, there is a lot of Lanny saying something needed to be edited and me saying, no, the hell not. And it wasn't just Lanny. It was like a lot of people that were like, are you sure that this line is the line you want? And I was like, yeah, because that's what I said. This line is fire. And then I'd come back to it in like 4 weeks and I was like, ooh, you were right. That was awful. This is a bad poem. And
I love that confidence. I love it.
In the moment, you're like, let this be my freedom.
yes,
Sticky sweet.
yes, yes, exactly. I had the confidence of a white man in Congress and they couldn't tell me anything wrong.
No.
Oh, man.
May all people have the confidence of a mediocre white man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, like, the lines themselves, like, other than the Robotest, and as I'm like looking, this is probably the first time I've looked at this poem for real, like since 2019.
Sure,
Maybe.
sure.
Probably 2018. And looking at the lines, I'm like, there was nothing, none of these flips or turns are super out there for what I have been what I read at the time, minus the Robotest, which made no sense.
Yeah.
So, but was my hinge, was the hinge for the poem.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had moved a couple words around, this is a sonnet. A bad one, but
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
it's 16 lines, and
Yeah.
2 of the lines are very short. This could have been a sonnet.
Well, problem solved. You found it.
There's the angle to take it. Yep.
Before I got off, I'm off Twitter for like a month so I can do the things of like being an adult. And I'm off Instagram and all of them for like a month. But before I got off, I tweeted, time to go edit some old poems so I have things to submit. I don't know if I can edit this one.
It'd be a big ask, I think.
Yeah.
It is. It is. Oh, wow.
You know, sorry, just what might be really fun is to just take that one line, I've seen blood spill out of mouse the color of Robitussin, and use that as a title to a brand new poem.
I have a prompt that I've taught called the Bayleaf prompt. You take an old poem, you take 2 to 3 lines from it, and you use one as your title. So whatever thing that you think is the essence of the poem that you're trying to write, that's your title. And then you use one line as your starting line. And then if you take a third, that's if you get stuck, you throw that line in because you're stuck to keep writing.
Okay.
And then you write a whole new poem from those lines. And I could maybe do it from this. But it's the Bayleaf prompt because at the end, they're bay leaves. You can pull them out. That's the flavoring.
That's very good.
Now, this is an entirely different tangent. Do you think bay leaves actually add flavor? Or is it just like...
Sweet bay leaves do.
Okay.
For sure. I have some sweet bay leaves here.
Okay.
I have a little bit. I do. I like a good bay leaf in a fruit.
I always think it's just like a placebo. Like if you're making a sauce, you just throw in a bay leaf and then pull it out at the end. Really?
I live by it. I have to.
Okay.
But I don't, I maybe you're right. Maybe it's in my mind. I'm like, got that leaf flavor.
I mean, to be fair, some of my favorite recipes requires bay leaves. So,
Oh yeah, I definitely still. I just bought some from the little corner store spice shop that has everything.
Nice.
You know, I
Now,
just bought them.
did you come up with the bay leaf method or is that a teaching thing that you've been taught?
I mostly stole it from Dinesh Smith.
Oh, okay.
They said it on the Versus podcast once, and like I was like, no, this is a great thing. I would gladly teach this as a method because I think a lot of times we look at our old work like this, and I mean, this has been sitting in the old work folder, tucked behind an email that I barely use, for 7 years.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, there's a chance that some of this could be reused. And I did do a 2020 poem. I redid it, and it came out. I mean, it's in my new collection now.
Nice.
So,
Very
yeah,
cool.
I like it.
So if it's been sitting for 7 years, it's been simmering for a while.
Yeah.
We've got at least a little bit of flavor from a bay leaf then.
Just about that much. That's It's
That's sticky sweet. There you go. There's the title. You got your first line. You're set.
Ooh, I think I wrote a lot of senses poems. When I started the creative writing program, I was still working for Starbucks.
Okay.
The first time, not my second time. But no need to get into it. But, I just remember like a lot of my poems were like, let me talk about coffee and like aroma. And like, I was like, or we can talk about something else that's not coffee and aroma. Maybe you can be a writer. But yeah, I think that sticky like feeling was like I had to be tactile. I wanted everything concrete because that's another thing we were taught. It was like everything has to have like a concrete nature and all abstraction had to be earned.
Oh, fascinating. Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that class scared me.
Well, yeah. I'm wondering, should we move on?
We can.
The title of this next one scares me, to be honest.
Oof.
You've given us a second bad poem here. Have you ever seen a guilty man's hanging?
Yeah.
Ready to read this one? Ready to read this?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
Let me just sip. I do this with my little sister Taylor a lot. If I'm going to do a dramatic reading, I have to sip a little water because
Yep.
She knows. Have you ever seen a guilty man's hanging? The tension of his neck as it starts to break, grasping the rope, hoping to live, the body starved to the point of weakness. He cannot hold on. His body gives out long even after his soul did. These are the images of pain we know. Images so easy to see, yet so hard to forget. These images are alive in one's mind. They learn to grow, to take space, to breathe, just as we do, unforgotten until you can forget it. Like that childhood memory of riding a bike in 4th grade down the street to your best friend's house, who then told you you were no longer friends. The forgotten is not yet forgiven. That is the story behind your eyes, of images you dare not tell, horrors you dare not share, dreams you dare not dream, lives we only know from the movie we watched last week, and we thought it was cool. Lives we wish we could live. Have you ever seen a guilty man's hanging? I have.
Okay.
You know what's wild about this?
What?
This is a found poem.
A found poem?
That's a found poem from a including the title. The title is a full like title from a newspaper article.
Really? Okay. So Dave and I, big novices in the world of poetry. How we fell into this, I still do not know. Found poems is every line found from somewhere else?
So technically it's not every yes. Okay. So the answer is yes, but it's every word.
Every
So
word.
it's technically not a found poem, it's an erasure found poem.
Okay.
So like I moved some of the words around to make some sentences, but outside of that, a lot of this was me just going into an article and just because I did two of these where I just went and crossed out a lot of words and found like made a found poem or this poem. But so it's like half erasure, half found. It's still bad, but I think there I can tell this was because I wrote this in my second to last semester of my program, my undergrad program. So Lanny might actually have read this one in class.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
because
Hmm.
I couldn't think of a poem that I could submit, and I was reading a newspaper, which was rare for me. And I was like, let me just do a, erasure found poem. And I just started crossing some things out, and I made this and submitted it. And my teacher was like, cool. I was like, work. And
That was it.
that was it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if your reading of it seemed a little I don't want to say flat. Like do you want to explain like I think even some people you can get those poetic errors in a reading. This one it just you couldn't find it.
Because I feel there was like, hear me out.
Okay.
There were so many moments where I was like, you were so close. You were so close, and then you didn't. And because you didn't, I can't. And that's where I was. Looking at the lines, like I think there's like I don't know, how did we get to the childhood memory? Like why was that in here at all? I think what's the line that was I was like, maybe open the tension of his neck as it starts to break, grasping the rope, hoping to live.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think when we got to hoping, I was like, okay, that could have been way more interesting.
Hmm.
But we have this tension that we're starting the poem off with that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, because I was like, I don't know who we're talking about. I don't know this man that is being hung. But like there is like I get that. And then I think there was a no, the soul part was awful. Um that's the whole the images part is awful. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was the first line. I was like, oh, maybe I did not do well. That's what I said.
I will say, I thought the childhood memory brought me into the poem. Like the whole opening of it brought me back to days when I was much too young to be on the internet, but I was on the internet and I saw things I should not have seen on said internet. But then to connect images of horror like that to a friendship lost, and like without knowing, guilt or not guilt, but to put it in the context of you're in fourth grade and it feels like you're being hanged almost. Like it's a huge overstatement, but I think that's I don't know.
But it does make sense. I think I also, as I was looking at it, I think the forgotten is not yet forgiven is like
Yeah.
I was like, that makes sense, right? Like that's a turn where I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that language is under like is good, but then I don't even the way the next line is phrased, that is the story. Like it immediately pulls me out and disorients me in the poem where I cannot catch that rhythm
Yeah.
I was trying to get. A
Yeah.
normal reading would try to have.
Yeah. This line here that just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb is I think it's the longest line in the poem. Lives we only know from the movies we watched last week. It feels like there's like 3 or 4 extra words in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was confused. What movie? Why was the movie made? Was it good? What was the point? Like, yeah. You're correct. I don't know. Like, that was probably the weakest point of the entire poem. Like, if I was to think about trying to restructure this poem, I would probably start from the childhood memory and get rid of everything else.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't even know what childhood memory. I mean, clearly this was like, again, it's a found poem, so it's like other people's language, but
Right.
I don't even know what friend did I not like at fourth grade?
Right.
I'm far too old for that now.
There's some lines here that who then told you you were, and then there's some extra spacing here. Do you know if that extra spacing was intentional? Is that where the erasure was happening in the found, or do you remember that?
That's an intentional line
Okay.
for sure.
Right.
Okay.
I thought I was so clever once I understood tab. I was not. I don't think I understood the Caesaras and like what that actually meant to a poem, right? And like how much space is needed for the impact to be there. Because at this point, what it really just looks like is an accidental extra
Double
tab.
space.
Or
Yep.
a double space. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was just
it does. Huh. Okay, so all these little gaps are intentional that I see.
yes.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Like
Yeah.
especially the dramatics of he cannot hold on. Line break. Yeah.
Wait for it.
Yes. Yes. Very legend. Damn it.
Oh my gosh, I was trying to place that for a second. I'm like, I know it feels so memorable, but I
Yep.
could not get there.
NPH?
Yes. That is what I was. A lot of my line breaks at this point also were for sure breaking because that's where in my mind I was taking a breath. Versus the line break, except for this is very controversial and I'm okay with being controversy. A lot of times we don't need to break on break because it's like it's been done so much. It's it's an obvious line break to say break, and I still do it sometimes, but like very very like sparingly. So like starting the poem off on saying it starts to break
Break line.
because you're breaking there, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like okay, we got it. You're a poet. But like yeah, a lot of these line breaks were like, oh, this is where I would stop stop the breath. This is where I want the point to be stopped versus like what I look at a line break as how many different meanings can I put into a single line, into a single sentence now.
Sure.
Yeah. Madeline talked about that last week as something that she likes experimenting with is if you break it a certain way, how many meanings can you get out of both lines? Is that what you were talking like you can create that double, triple meaning by just an intentional break in the right spot.
Oh.
Yes. And I don't think I know. It's not I don't think. I keep saying I don't think, but I actually and I can stand 10 toes, 27 toes down actually into this one. I did not know how to break a line. I had to learn that. And it took a lot of my friends saying, why are you breaking a line there?
Huh.
Especially Lanny. I will say Lanny has told me to not break lines in plenty of spaces that I argued with her, but I don't anymore.
No.
Kind of ended with again this refrain coming where it's just I have, which felt real like sailor, like a sailor chant. You mean?
Yeah.
Yo.
Aye, matey.
Yes.
But to be fair, one is capitalized and one is not.
To be fair, that is a typo.
I thought we were doing some intentional like differentiation here. Like the second one is more subtle, less resolved.
I wish.
Yeah.
I don't think anything in this poem was intentional. I barely intended for it to be a poem, so here we are.
You have guilty man's hanging all in caps at the end there too, which is not capitalized in the title. Yeah, odd choices that feel like they should be very intentional.
Yeah.
I was in a fraternity. I have a point.
Okay.
I love that needs clarification.
So left field. I was in a fraternity, and I would often have to send out like important documents and emails, and I would capitalize words like fraternity all the time because it just would happen. I'm pretty sure this just happened because I just hit capital like as I was typing. It happened. It wasn't on purpose, unfortunately. There's no reason for guilty man's hanging to be at the end of this poem. let's start there. But also, like, for it to be, I don't know. Every time I look at this poem, it feels like 4 steps forward and 19 steps back.
Mm.
Um,
Can I be honest with the guilty man's hanging capitalized, following the stanza about that movie that we watched last week that you thought was cool, and then it's have you ever seen a guilty man's hanging? It kind of feels like you're saying there's this movie called The Guilty Man's Hanging we all should see.
huh. I wonder. You might be right.
Well, let's IMDb this.
Like,
No direct movie titled that, so darn.
no, I just didn't know what I was doing.
Oh,
I thought that I did, which is wild that this, I think by the time I started submitting poems 2017, I knew that this wasn't a good poem, but I thought Playground was. So, I mean,
we're really seeing the evolution of an author here. I mean, of
right. It's amazing what growth can happen.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, awareness that wasn't fully aware. But I had something. I had gained somewhere in here. I think there's no structure between the stanzas, which is fine, except for there's this one line in the middle that just looks like a belt. And I did that on purpose.
Huh.
Is that the forgotten is not yet forgiven?
Yes.
Okay. So we got the torso, the belt, and then the legs of this poem, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I could talk to younger Jason.
Wow.
I'd say put that in the line before, maybe.
Oh. I don't know how much it would have saved.
No, if you're talking to your younger self, you just say, listen to Lanny. She knows.
Yeah.
She's got it.
You're correct. If I'm talking to my younger self, the language that needs to actually happen is when someone gives you an edit, listen.
Yeah.
Not that great of a poet yet. You can see it. But at this moment today, it's not it.
Now, I am interested in the fact that you talked about at Playground, you talked about how you felt like your voice at that time needed to be like the voice of for the oppressed. Do you feel like that was something that drew you to this specific found poem?
Well, I mean, it's still the same. Like that was my whole spiel from like all of my creative writing undergrad degree. Like I wrote this really bad chapbook that very fortunately no one but maybe Lanny has read, period. Like I put it up for a total of 4 days and I pulled it down. But
what's the title?
I don't even remember if I'm being honest. But it was my thesis for my undergrad, and it was like half of these like queer poems and half of these like black poems where I just yelled a bunch of this obscenities on page. Like that was basically it.
Okay.
Was me just yelling a bunch of obscenities on page. And I think so that was as early as 20, like this would have been a 2014 poem. That was like a 2013, 2014 thing where I was really just trying to pull up all of this oppression. And like around that time, like we were still talking about, Trayvon Martin, and we're still, and we got just, we got to like it's a positive thing, but like, Mike Brown. So like those are things that I was able to like try and put into my writing, but I didn't. And I was also at that time watching a lot of like button poetry and like trying to model my poems off of their poems as well. So that style mixed with my program being like, that's not our style, right? So my program's like, is more of this style written better. So it's like, it was like what I was trying to push against, but actively also having to write towards because that's what they wanted. And I think I was like, how can I put my oppression into my cloud poems or my poems about the bees? How can I do that? And then a lot of times they would clash to the point where it would just come out like this.
Yeah. I the reason my question faltered is because the question is a guilty man's, and it should be an innocent man's but yeah, sorry. Yeah. But
No, I think there's this idea of like who we call guilty too. So like this being a found poem and being a found poem that was from the newspaper, we are automatically assuming that the jury and the judge are just in what they're in their
Right.
verdict, right? So
Yeah.
this technically that man may not have been guilty, but that's how he was found.
Much like this poem.
Unfortunate, yeah.
But no, that's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I think I was smart. It just wasn't good. There's a difference.
That is the meanest compliment I've ever heard. I was smart, just not good.
It was a lot of stuff like this where it was like, I think I always would fall into the trap too that I was like, I have to write like a dream you dare not dream, or like
Yeah.
things like that, like lives you don't, we wish we could live, like that, like abstraction is the abstraction that I was taught not to write again, like write towards. And it was like, I understand now as a full on me, right, why I shouldn't use that line because it's so much air in between those two words that there is nothing to stick to. It's that means it's an empty statement, and there's no reason for that empty statement to sit in the poem, right? And I get that now. Yeah.
Now that's the turn of phrase that I really like. That's good. There's so much air, there's nothing to stick to. I like it. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I write poems sometimes.
Right. It's almost like you're a poet or something. I don't know.
every so often. But I will say though, like even like thinking about the 2017 poem, like between this being 2014 and then Playground being 2017, I probably wrote roughly 15 poems between that time. I think between 2017 and 2018, between like I maybe wrote 2 poems.
Oh.
And then like Lanny and I started writing together again, and that's when like I started really writing again. I truly owe my career to Lanny because Lanny forced me to submit poems. Lanny, she would come over to my house and say, "No, we're submitting today."
Oh, that's so cool.
And I think there was this idea that I couldn't write poems because I was going back and looking at these and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not good. I'm not good at this craft. I don't know what I'm doing." And I just didn't want to write because of, look at the material.
Wow. That's really cool though.
Yeah.
Oh God, this poem is so bad.
Yeah, it doesn't get better on like return.
Oh no.
You're so kind, Aaron.
Sorry.
I like honesty. No one has heard or read this poem since undergrad. So here we go.
Yeah.
Here you go, world.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. That's the whole shtick.
And I love it. Yeah.
Well, we've talked for about an hour here. I fear we could talk for a lot more. I'm not afraid of that. I'd have more to edit. A lot more to edit.
Aaron is saying he's afraid that we're going to hear more of your poetry, and we just can't do that. We can't.
I understand. I get it.
You never eat the bay leaf, Jason.
No, get the baby itself. No. You can leave it in.
That's where I've been going wrong. Okay.
No, especially not the really long ones. No, you're not going to eat that.
No, don't eat that. Yeah.
Public service announcement.
But we do need to wrap this up. But before we let you go, here at My Bad Poetry, we end each week with the words of a true poet. So would you be willing to read for us another one of your poems?
Yes, I will read a good poem this time.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Wonderful.
This poem was picked up by Poetry Magazine, and it is after Alvin Baltrop's photography, queer Black photographer that documented queer life in the 70s and 80s on the piers. Untitled, 1975 to 86. There was a boy who once ruined love for me. A bold statement to hang my tongue on now Like the carpenter ants, I stand in the corner and watch others learn the same endless ruin. You do not just find field mice in yards tangled with grass. They too occupy the pitch black throats of warehouses. I do not have a better way of notating starvation. From a distance, a fox fixates beyond the group of boys learning lust, each naked boy quiet in their removal of silk flesh, the sunlight freckling their soft bodies. They too hunger, have yet to learn why I fear gluttony. A boy helps another pull lint from his hair, and they chuckle at their friend sloughing the long abandoned plywood, his body painting the docks in a dusted brandy. The fox notices all of this, and the mouse pirouetting in between the unsuspecting boy's feet. Like them, he believes he is safe. Like them, he does not know he is being watched from the dark.
That just sings. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you. I think that may be one of my favorite poems from the newest new collection I'm writing.
Understandably
nice.
so.
Yeah. I think that one's going to haunt me for a while. Thank you for that.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It really does. I remember I sent this to my friend to edit, and he sent it back and said, "It's perfect. Send it to poetry."
Wow. That's cool. That's cool.
So, and they got picked up. So I mean, maybe he was
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Maybe it was right.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, for our dear listeners, if you liked that one, there are two more in this collection of Untitled 1975 to 86 in that July August volume from Poetry Magazine. Wow. And Yeet, you said.
Yes.
Okay. Have to
Slight
watch
change
for
of
that.
pace.
No, yeah, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeet is different. Yeet is not this quiet.
Sure. Really? With a title like that? I thought it'd be very introspective.
Yeah.
But no, Yeet is a little bit different. But there are, I will say, there are multiple of these that have been published. So
Nice.
the collection itself, they almost all have the same title. And they
Okay.
are throughout a bunch of different magazines at this point now.
Wow.
Cool.
Nice. This has been My Bad Poetry.
Now go write some of your own bad poetry. Line break.
I don't know. Was that apparent enough? Was there a break in the?
No. It needed to be said. It always needs to be said. Subtlety is dead.
Rhyme free doesn't matter. It's my bad poetry.